You are listening to the Billy D's podcast.
We are waiting just a minute for everyone to engage the live stream. Remember, you can find the Billy D's podcast on your favorite platform.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. If you are new here, first of all, we are primarily an interview and a commentary-based podcast. My name is Billy D's, and we kind of have a mixture of things. We got some commentary today. We have I can't say a guest, more of a co-host, a very frequent co-host. Cynthia Elliott is on the program. Cynthia, as always, so glad you are here.
Thank you, Billy. I'm delighted, as always, to join you on your show.
Absolutely. We have a lot of new people coming in to the podcast in general as it gets placed through the week. So if you are new here, first of all, I'm very glad that you found us. And here again, we're a multifaceted show. So it's not just interviews. It's not just authors. It's not just politics. It's all of those things. So try to listen to a couple episodes before you make a decision about the podcast in general. I've kind of believed that a variety of content is a good thing. I don't care if you're talking about giving away gold bricks every episode. You're going to get tired of hearing about gold bricks. So there comes a point when you got to mix things up a little bit, and that's what we do. Cynthia has quite the background. I'm not even sure if you're not familiar with Cynthia. Regular listeners will know her. But Cynthia is like all over the place. Former model, marketing executive. Now, let's talk about the author thing. Your book has risen to the top of the charts again, right?
Yeah. Memory Mansion, which came out a year and a half ago, I think it was. Yeah, it's always nice when it hits It's always nice when it hits the charts again. So it was nice to see that it hit number one. And my other book, Unleash the Empress, also did. So that kicked off the week with a positive note.
Well, I guess it sure should. I got to say, we're going to talk about a lot of things. Obviously, Cynthia is an author. There's books available. She has a documentary coming out. We're going to talk about that. But I don't want you to feel like this is a vehicle, and Cynthia never has been this way. This is a vehicle to like an infomercial, because we talk about a lot of interesting things. And one of the things, let's start with, is the nonprofit, because I think that's one of the most intriguing things you do, as a matter of fact. This is interesting because we hear a lot about nonprofits, and we hear a lot about, trying to do things for education. I haven't heard too many people dedicated to AI in the way that you are. The SoulTech Foundation is building out programs like the AI literacy training program. Their aim is to teach and certify 10,000 Americans, and a lot of these are from underserved communities.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Yeah, I think that's amazing. I really do.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
I love it. So I have a lot of interests like anybody else, and I wanted to create a foundation that's main purpose was to use education and events to build community and build skill sets that help people thrive. Because I grew up in an orphanage and in care, and I know what it's like, and in Memphis in the 1970s when it was the murder capital of the country. And I know what it's like to be in an underserved community and how much harder it is to succeed when you don't have resources or support. So, I started the SoulTech Foundation a year ago, and we've been, dealing with that whole process of being a 501c3. And that's been very educational. I was a little surprised by a lot of the things that go on, even though I've worked with almost, it seems like every major charity in the country in all my years. But so we've got the AI literacy program, because AI it's involved in everything. Like, I think a lot of people separate it, like it's social media or the internet, but everything will have AI involved in it. So it affects every area of our life. And so I've partnered with the Otterman's Institute out of the UK, highly respected. They invented the first AI teacher to offer a 9-step UN grade course that teaches people AI literacy and certifies them, because they need that skill to succeed.
Sure.
And so we're super excited about that. And, we're still in the process of doing that whole program, because it's laborious. It's a lot, but it's important work. and building out programs to teach wellness practices like meditation and yoga in underserved communities so that we can offer them the tools that allow them to get command of their emotional, mental, spiritual intelligence. That's a huge part of success. Being able to build success for yourself, particularly when you're extra challenged, learning to be present. And we've got some incredible events coming up this year, which I'm really happy about. I mean, it's been a lot of work, but when you care and you want to do something to change the world, you know, you just deal with it.
Absolutely. One of the things that that you said on one of our shows here that I felt was very profound was in terms of, the boogeyman with AI is it's going to become sentient. It's going to become self-aware. I really don't feel that. I don't feel that this is that kind of a threat. I think it could come in increments, which is another part of another conversation. People are already asking AI, like, how do I manage a bad marriage? How do I manage my affairs? How do I manage my finances? And I don't know that it's going to be a subtle creep. Too many young people are getting conditioned to that. That's probably my fear. But getting back to the awareness thing, that this thing is all of a sudden going to become self-aware. One of the things that I really heard you say that really stuck with me is that people need to be more self-aware. And I don't know. I've heard enough people say that in the face of this. I don't think a lot of people, we used to hear this a lot when I was a kid in the 70s. Like you'd hear about some actors saying, like, I got to take a year off to find myself. And I think in today's age, maybe because of the technology, I don't think people have realized that they've lost a sense of their own existence, so to speak, their own awareness. They're not in touch with their own being, with their own existence. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
No, I completely agree with it. It's one of the reasons why we did the programs that we did. Like, it's a little bit of a mixture of things that will help people thrive, is because I'm deeply concerned about the mental health crisis. And I know, as an intuitive and person who's been around for a long time, I know that the mental health crisis is going to get worse before it gets better. And the loss of jobs through AI and the issues that we're going to have because people are going to become too dependent on AI. They're going to stop thinking for themselves, writing for themselves, composing for themselves. Like, it's like everything will be in partnership with artificial intelligence, and that makes people stupid. And it definitely makes them unaware. And it is through awareness that you learn to get command of your lived experience. And then you realize you don't need any of the technology to be, I mean, I could go to a cabin in the mountains and be happy now. And I don't know if I could say that about myself from 5 years ago, because I needed the chaos and the fear machine that I had gotten trained into. Yeah. So, that's one of the reasons why it's so important to me to teach those mindfulness, because and the sort of the yogic lifestyle, if you will, because it's not, yoga's not about, it is exercise, but it's a whole lifestyle, and it teaches people the power of learning to be aware and present, and what that huge shift that can make in your life. And it puts people in command of their lived experience. So I think it's one of the solutions to the mental health crisis that is worsening as we speak.
Yeah. One of the things you have coming up is Nirvana, a psychic's journey to the final rebirth. And one of the things I want you to clarify, to hear you speak about, is when people hear the word psychic, like I heard you say an intuitive. When people hear the word psychic, they kind of picture someone with a crystal ball and all the little lights up above, and they're saying, watch out, the great love is coming your way.
That's so true. Yeah.
But what is it on more practical terms? And here again, I want the audience to be aware. When we talk about these things, everybody has their own way of getting through life. Everybody has their own belief system. There's almost 8 billion people on this earth, and no matter what religion they subscribe to, no matter what ideology they claim to have, if you really start asking them maybe 20 specific questions, you'll get 20 different answers. And so there's like 8 billion religions on this earth. And I kind of find all people's belief systems and how they view our existence very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, tell us a little bit about what the word psychic and intuitive mean to you.
Yeah, so I think part of the problem is that the church basically and organized religion demonized experiences that people had throughout history because it was something they couldn't understand how it was happening. And by that lack of understanding, this is very true for, I'm sure when fire first came around, people were like, and so because of that conditioning, the word psychic, which I have to be honest, I absolutely hate.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the word because it comes with so much baggage, has been really destroyed in many ways. And also people monetize things. And so if they think they can get if anything that people can't measure how it's actually happening does attract people who can be scammy. It's just the truth.
Yeah, sure.
And so a psychic or somebody who's tapped into their psychic abilities is someone who is using energy pattern recognition and their human equipment to tap into the universe, to know, to foresee and to understand and to feel from other people. So I can tell people things about themselves within minutes of meeting them.
Sure.
I'll tell you a funny story. I got into a car. I did a photo shoot with Aly Raisman in New York City. Probably shouldn't have said who that was, but anyway, she started dating some guy and we got into the car together and I was in the car with him for a few minutes. We only drove him a little close by. And when he got out of the car, I turned to my assistant at the time and I said, that man is going to be on The Bachelor, and then he's going to come out as gay, and then he's going to have another reality show about being gay. And she was like, what? Like, how are you even saying that? And then she called me a couple years later and said, how did you know? I think, the word intuitive, I think people like better, but also intuitive implies that it's basically math, and we understand math. And so we have a problem in our society where we have become so divorced from the magic that humans are capable of that we have fear about things if we can't measure them. Now, what I find very interesting about this, and I've been saying this for about a year and a half now, AI will prove that psychic abilities are 100% natural, and it's already doing so because AI can read your thoughts and communicate with you through your thoughts. It can take an image that you are thinking about and recreate it on a screen for you. So why, if a machine that human beings can create can read, tap into your energy and use the information it has within its own brain to understand what you are thinking, feeling, and seeing, what's going on in your mind, why do we still have such a problem with understanding that that's about energy? We're all connected to each other, the collective consciousness around the planet. They've actually done studies where they've measured, and they understood this happened after 9/11. After 9/11, they saw this huge shift in you have to look that study up. It's really interesting. They saw a real shift in the information that they had been collecting because people all over the planet were praying and sending, thoughts of love. And they were able to measure that. So the fact that we're all connected like one big body shouldn't make, being able to foresee things in the near future or use your mathematical ability to understand where something is going to actually head. A lot of what I do is actually pattern recognition.
Sure.
But I also get hits on things like, 9/11, which I talk about in my book, having a conversation with the God of my understanding and my spirit guides that they didn't want me to go to the meeting that I had that morning and in the restaurant at the top. And so to me, it's a fascinating subject that we would do better to talk about more openly. And I do think that the people who are scammy, playing on people's heartbreak and grief and desire for love do a lot of damage to our understanding of the natural gifts that human beings have.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's a lot of things that you said that I kind of want to address. First of all, the idea of scams. There's a lot of things that are put into a bottle and sold. Psychic ability is one of them. Religion is another one. And another one now that you don't hear people say, I've been saying it for a long time, but this positivity as a business. There's a reason when you walk over hot coals that you don't burn your feet. It has nothing to do with feeling good that you won't. It has nothing to do with it. And there's a lot of what you said there. A lot of times I get called a skeptic, but to me, I think a skeptic, just like the word psychic, has become an ugly word. To me, when I say the word skeptic, I am kind of like what you said. I need to be able to draw a line from point A to B and say, okay, I know this is fact. That does not mean that I dismiss something just because that line is incomplete. Einstein said, don't dismiss anything that there's evidence for, because you could be setting yourself up to make a big mistake. And I do think there's a lot of things about existence that go beyond the physical, but I just don't know, here again, from my point of view, until I can draw a line with predictable and repeatable results. I can't say for sure. But a couple of things here. What you said about consciousness, there's a lot of evidence in the physical world that is starting to come to light now. There was a study done, I believe it was MIT. Now, don't quote me on that, but it's been repeated a couple different times where they had atoms, on a subatomic level. And we've all heard the expression, a watched pot never boils, right? But they actually proved that atoms being observed, how they interact with the electrons and the neutrons and everything else, are different than when they're being observed. They behave one way not being observed and another way being observed. And to me, that is some fascinating stuff.
Yeah, that's called the observer effect.
And what you're saying about all of us having a certain amount of psychic ability, I think the ability to communicate non-verbally is very present in the animal kingdom. It's especially noticeable in predators, when pack hunters and things like that. And I'm fairly confident. I don't know as much about biology and human evolution as I do physics, but I can tell you that I think there's a lot of evidence for the fact that humans once had that ability. But I think speech, we relied on speech so much as speech developed that we kind of forgot that there are other ways that we can sense what another person is feeling or what their intentions may be. And I think that's kind of gone by the wayside. Is that a good theory? And here again, it's just a theory.
Yeah.
But
No. I completely. They believe that. They believe that our ancestors used their telepathic abilities. And I don't know if you've seen the something tapes where the autistic children are reading their mother's minds. It is absolutely so much fun for me to finally see this thing's coming out after years of being like, I'm not saying psychic to anybody. But no, I agree with you, Billy. That I think language became so weighted, and so, I mean, look at the dictionary. The language, which was very simple in the beginning, became such a primary way of us communicating and a control mechanism in many ways. If you think about that, like, just the language of how the language developed, who developed it, who made it okay to say. Like, it always annoys me when academics get all, fuzzy about themselves, because I'm like, you work at a college. Would you stop acting like, you're better than other people? It's so weird to me that the colleges got that way.
Oh, they're terrible. And a lot of these people who are career academics never worked a real job or ran a business in their life, but they'll look down on people who have. But that's a whole nother,
episode.
Whole nother episode. The other thing I would say too, for the listeners' benefit, a lot of the stuff that you were saying about, being able to create images with your mind and with what AI can do, this has already been very clearly demonstrated if you've been following Neuralink. And it's one of Elon, another one of his amazing ventures that he's gone into. A lot of the hopes for Neuralink is it will help people who have had spinal injuries or neurological problems, And in the past, the solution for a severed nerve was always try to repair it. But now that there seems to be technology that will take the responses of the nerves, go around the break, and then retransmit them into the healthy part of the system that's been cut off. And a part of this has been some really amazing stuff with what you can do with the mind. I don't know if you want to Google this up as far as the audience is concerned, but they trained a monkey. I'm not sure exactly what species it was of primate, but it was some sort of a monkey to play a video game. And with his hands, just with a controller, just like a human being would do. And then they implanted the Neuralink system, and that monkey was sitting in front of the TV, not using his hands, but playing the game mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, to me, it's fascinating and it's scary because I think there's, we talk about our computers being hacked. What happens when
that's going to happen? Not only will will companies be taking advantage of communicating with us subconsciously, through new technology that's in stores and public venues, but we will see incidences of people being manipulated.
Yeah. That's the scary part. I think it has a tremendous amount of things it can do, not only for people who have been injured with their spine and other parts of their nervous system, but just for human beings in general to become more in tune with their own creativity and their own existence. I think it's mind-boggling what it could do for good. But just like with anything else, there's always going to be a bad actor somewhere who's going to try to do bad things. Let's talk a little bit about Nirvana, a psychic's journey to the final rebirth. This is your documentary, correct?
Yes, it is my documentary. You know me, I'm always got some new project going on.
Yeah,
I like to explore, and that's why I wrote the books I wrote, and that's why I started the foundation. And I spent a really long time editing everything I said because I wanted to be accepted by the average person. A lot of that stems from growing up in care. Yeah. Caring what other people think. It also comes from fear training that we all got. Mm-hmm. And so it has been very important for my own healing journey to be as frank and honest about my experiences and to give them their due. Just because they sound different or alternative or woo-woo-y doesn't mean that they still aren't my experiences. And also, I don't really have any family, and I have a teenage son. And I was like, my son hates reading books. He's really smart, but he will not sit and read a 300-page book. And I was like, okay,
too many words.
Yeah. I wanted to leave him something that walked him through my journey. The psychic experiences that I had, but also some of the more traumatic things that I had dealt with, because it is confusing when you have that many changes in your life. And I have had a crazy life. Like, I've lived all over the country. I've worked with famous people, and I've been to all the big award shows, and I've created influencer marketing and brand communications. And I've just had this incredible journey. I've also been very poor. I've also been very successful. It's just been extremes all over the place. And I wanted to be able to leave something for him. He probably won't watch it for a really long time, but at least when he does, he'll hear the words from my own mouth. And I thought for other people who've had these experiences that are uncomfortable with expressing their truth, because like I said, Billy, I will bet you that artificial intelligence will prove that psychic abilities actually exist. We don't really understand time. We just labeled it. So the idea that time has a bit of fluctuation in there, to me, is very believable. Anyway, I sat down and I was like, I'm just going to do this. And so, I did the documentary. It was my first one, low budget, but I wanted to be able to share that story with other people, particularly people who've dealt with a lot of trauma and want to identify with somebody who's been on that healing journey, and who's learned to love and respect her own experiences and share them openly. I don't give up what anybody thinks anymore. I will talk about anything that I think or believe. I will call somebody out if I feel like they're being inappropriate. I mean, some of my ex posts can be a bit woo. Mm-hmm. But that's a great place to get. And I was in my 50s when I finally had that experience. And if somebody's, some kid somewhere, some young woman somewhere is struggling with her own self-identity and can watch that documentary, then that will make me very happy, because that's really the point of all the work I do.
Yeah. Well, here again, relativity says we not only exist in a certain place, but we exist in a certain time, and they are bendable. So there's there's a lot of interesting concepts interwoven into what you're talking about. You have as one of the things that you're getting into on February 4th.
Mm-hmm.
There's a TEDx, and I'm not sure what. Tell me what this TEDxMizner is. Tell me what that is.
Yeah, the SoulTech Foundation is about events and education. So I've put together a TEDx in Boca Raton, TEDxMizner, and I'm hosting it. And we've got 14, I think it is, incredible speakers. A lot of them are flying in to speak and donating their time to talk about disruption in the age of AI. And what different industries and trends might be. The idea behind TEDx is ideas that are worth spreading, which is exciting. And then we're doing some of our workshops for teaching meditation and yoga to underserved communities. And then I'm really excited about. I have to tell you this. Sorry, I'm really excited, Billy. I'm doing a big event in October called Her Health Summit. And I'm so excited about this event because it is 12 women who are all powerhouses in their own industries. We made sure we covered the full spectrum, who are coming together to talk, to share talks at a summit about women's health and kind of where we were and where we're at and where we need to be, because there's a lot of issues with women's health. Like I just shared the statistic today. A lot of people don't know this, but less than 1% of the research budget that goes into healthcare is spent on women over 40, because we're apparently disposable. Because if they can't make babies with us anymore, they're just going to throw us away. I mean, that's really what that comes from, and no one will convince me otherwise, because the statistics for the amount of money spent on men's health for men over 40 is way higher. I mean, it was kind of shocking for me. Anyway, I'm excited about that. I mean, I'm excited to bring an event to people that will create conversation for women to come and talk and hear from panels. And, that is where change happens in community. They have shown that community, having a strong community dramatically changes people's lives within that community. Sure. It can't be overstated. It's literally scientific. So,
well, being from Ohio, we've had a major problem with opiates and other addictions here, and there's absolutely no question in the recovery community that community is very important. I think we as human beings have a tendency to do better in social situations. Now, not everybody does, but I think the idea that you can find support from the people around you is very, very important. SoulTech Magazine. I mean, obviously, I know a little bit about what it's about, but what does the SoulTech Magazine cover, and how often do issues come out?
Yeah, it's bi-monthly, and it's the magazine for the foundation, and it just shares what we're up to, and it shares tips on healthy living and making better decisions, and kind of where society and culture is headed. I would definitely term it as spiritual. And so, that new issue of that just dropped, and it covers the documentary. Like I do an interview in the magazine about the documentary.
Okay. Where can people find the interview? Comes out this weekend. Now, this is we're in production today, Friday, November 14th.
Yeah.
When does the
documentary drop? Sunday.
Oh, it's Sunday. Okay.
Yeah.
And where can people find it?
They can find it if the link in my Twitter. If you go to any of my social media, it'll be out by Sunday. But if you are on here on Twitter, because I know we do a lot on Twitter, you can go to my bio, and there's a link that'll take you to it on Sunday.
And you're on it's X now, but it's at Shaman Isis, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's where people can find it. Being an intuitive, I'll tell you, I've had this conversation a number of times now over the past couple weeks, and a lot of people are talking about a sense of dread or a sense of doom, like something really that I've had a lot of people tell me lately. A lot of people very close to me and a lot of people I've met socially say, yeah, I'm really getting the feeling that something bad is going to happen. I'm hearing that from more and more people.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear, for those who may not be familiar with the term, something like a black swan event, which can be just something that is so overwhelming that it changes the course of history, changes the patterns of society, and it kind of changes how we view the world. Do you have any opinions about that?
Yeah, we will have shocking things happen. Where there's a lot of tumultuousness going on across the planet. I feel it in the energy, and it actually deeply affects me when that's going on. And I felt it before, 2 days before they took a shot at Trump. I had this vision of a man looking down a rifle scope. And I had the worst sense of doom. And I just remember saying out loud, I was meditating on the roof. I was like, oh my God, someone's going to take a shot at Trump. I think I talked to you about this. For months, I had talked to you about the fact that I thought somebody was going to try to kill him. I lost my train of thought.
We're talking about a black swan event. Pending doom.
Yeah. I have had a very heavy a sense of weight, but I do think that this has to do with, I think a lot of people are spending too much time on social media and doom scrolling. And I think it's more severe than they realize, because we become what we consume. And I know this because I have to get on myself sometimes about being on social media too much, but I believe that because our information channels have changed, and now we all have like 6-7 apps on our phone, and because we live in the attention economy, to get that attention, people are saying gaslighty things. They're saying, controversial things. Like, they're doing whatever it takes to get attention. I think of Candace. Like, I actually like Candace. What's her name? I forget.
Candace Owens?
Yeah. I like Candace Owens, but I feel like her content is like that. It's the doom. And I know that, she's also sees herself as a journalist, and so she feels like she's speaking the truth, but we've got so much of that going on. Like, I'm actually shocked at what the things that people will say to somebody they don't know on social media still take my breath away. Like, it's wild, like how insulting. They'll just pull somebody's video up and stitch it in there and say some really like awful things to them. And I think that's causing, this is why I believe the AI algorithms are actually too good. And I think that this is why I talk about mental health crisis getting worse.
Yeah. Candace Owens, if you would have asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said she probably would make a good candidate. I really was into her. She's done some things now where she's kind of jumped the shark, which is a term out of show business, but it simply means
that's from Happy Days. I remember.
Yes, and she's put on one too many wild shows for the show to be taken seriously now. And she's also become a master at double talk. She'll insinuate something, and then somebody said, "Well, Candace Owens said that." Well, I didn't say exactly that. She's playing that little bullshit game.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing with Charlie Kirk and everything else. A close second to her is Tucker Carlson.
Yes. What the f is going on with him?
He lost me a couple years ago when he had the guy who drove up the prices of the, I believe it was the AIDS drug, and he shot it through the roof. And he had him on there, and he was just a misunderstood businessman and all this other kind of bullshit.
Oh, dude. Marcus Corelli was the guy's name.
Yeah, that's him. Well, you look up the word weasel, and his picture's there.
Oh, absolutely. Tucker. I like Tucker too, but he's also, I'm like, are they all following the same? Did they get a playbook I didn't get?
Yeah. Because he's gone way off. He's playing the same little game that Candace Owens is
playing. And you know who else I'm a little bit like, girl, I like you, but she said something this week that I was like very disappointed. I like Megyn Kelly.
Yes, absolutely.
I really do, because she tells it like it is, and it's so hard to find that in somebody who's famous. But she said that comment about the difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I was like, apparently you were never molested or raped as a young woman.
I'll say this about Megyn Kelly, because she's been criticized for some of the shows she's done in past and things like that. I think she's evolved, and I also think that I'm not sure she was fully aware when she did the interview, referring to Candace Owens about what some of the things Candace Owens actually said. Okay, Ben Shapiro kind of actually made her seem a little naive in that interchange in that exchange that they had. But I wouldn't, somebody who's been on the air as long as she has, she's done far more good things than I'm not ready to dump Megyn Kelly yet.
Yeah, no, I like Megyn, but I was disappointed in that. And while you're saying it, I have to mention Ben Shapiro, kiss my ass. How dare you say that he said the American people, and he said that the American people shouldn't be retiring at 65. This says so much about his childhood and his work experience. I mean, how easy was it to lift the pen from your desk? So you clearly don't know what physical labor does to people over years of actually doing it, you idiot.
Yeah, I would agree that was a very naive remark from Ben Shapiro. But here again, you can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think overall Ben is highly intellectual, very good debater, and I think he's right more than he's wrong. And we can't just dump people because of one errant comment. That's why I'm not, with Megyn Kelly. But I think now with the two that we've been talking about, Tucker and with Candace Owens, they have now demonstrated. I don't know. They're going somewhere that I'm not sure. I understand where they're going.
I think it's called fame and money.
Yeah.
I think what happens to people, and I've worked with so many famous people, what happens to them is when they find a vein, they dig in.
Yeah.
Just like a miner, and they'll keep going till the vein runs out. And I think it is so hard to get attention in this world, especially if you don't really take advertisers. And I don't think either one of them really does. That I guess it's a game of survival. They figure like I'll do, a few shows every once in a while that are a bit wild to keep me in the news media, and then I'll be normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Tucker was one of those people that, like I said, I was never big on Tucker. I agreed with him a lot, but he would sometimes go places that I just, even when he was on Fox, he'd go some places. But lately now and you can, the audience can, check out these people themselves. But before, as we're getting close to the end of our episode here, I do want to. Your trailers generally have good audio, and sometimes when somebody gives me a piece of video, because of the fact the vast majority of our audience here at the Billy D's podcast is on the big podcast platforms, and people listen to them while they're commuting and this and that. So something that's very visual, sometimes I'm a little reluctant to do. But since we're towards the end of the episode, and this trailer has such good audio, you've done such a good job with the voiceover on this. I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer for the documentary right now. So, and we still will be on screen for the video audience. And if you do want to say anything over top of it, your mic will still work. So here we go. And here we go.
I had been in a very dark place for a very long time. My spirit guides had been trying to get my attention for years. They were now urgently begging me to wake up. It was 2019, and they told me that the world was about to go through a global shock, a trauma.
Is it just me, Billy, or does the audio sound strange?
I needed to help the collective.
It's you.
But first,
just making sure.
I had to finally help myself. Let me take you back to the very beginning, when I decided that this would be my last reincarnation. I was in the ethers, the in-between, somewhere among the stars. We were planning my next incarnation. I wanted it to be my last rebirth. My guides asked me several times if I was sure You see, I had many lessons to learn. Lessons as old as the time of the Egyptians. Apparently, I'm a stubborn spirit. They reminded me again that I was choosing a very difficult experience, that I was trying to learn many lessons in this lifetime, some of them painful. Apparently, I wasn't just stubborn, but a bit of a rebel. So, of course, I said yes. Boy, was I in for a ride.
Did a excellent voiceover there. And if the sound on here in the studio sounded fine,
Okay.
and I can't change it if it's on the live version. But if there was an issue, I will fix it in post when it goes on the regular podcast. Excellent. I really liked your voiceover on that. That was good.
Thank you. I think I have a thing, like a natural affinity for doing voice work, because I've done a couple now, and like I narrated my book, and that I do not recommend that for anybody.
That's tough. Yeah,
It is tough. Yeah,
I get offers to do those every once in a while, and boy, that's when you think about how long it takes you to just casually read a book, you're talking about hours. And depending on how long the book is, of course, but let's say, a decent sized novel or something like that, you're going to spend some time doing it. Well, to read it perfectly, you either have to read pages ahead and then record, or you have to read. A lot of voiceover people that do those tell me that you have to read the whole book several times. And then to actually record, you're talking about hours standing in front of a microphone and a monitor, and boy, it's tough. And I just, even though some of the offers I've gotten have been for a fair amount of money, I just, the time that it would take for me doing my regular stuff and the time of that labor and that effort, it's tough. So I anybody that's done that, I got to give you my hands off to you. I don't know if I could do it regularly.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever do a book again. It was like, okay, because it's a lot of recording, and a lot of the stuff that I recorded, I was in New York City. It did not matter what I did, you could still hear the sirens, because there's always sirens.
You really need for the job offers that I get, they actually want equipmentless, so they know exactly what the sound quality is going to be, what you're using and all that, and they take it very seriously when they're hiring you to do that. And like I said, it's just, if I could get it done in one day, it'd be different. But I might do a little book, a novel,
30-pager.
Yeah. You're giving me 400 or 500 pages, and I'm like, oh, and you gotta and anymore, the really big productions, now you have multiple voice people doing different characters and everything. It's almost like a radio play. And and there's a lot of time and a lot of money that goes into those. So that's something that I might consider. You've already talked about a lot of what you're doing, but why don't you give people the list of where people can find you in general, online and so forth?
So Shamanisis YouTube channel, at Shamanisis, or at Shamanisis Official on most platforms. Of course, I'm known as Cynthia Elliott. You can find all my stuff at shamanisis.com. The links are all at the bottom, so you can definitely check there.
Yeah. You can find the Billy D's podcast anywhere you find podcasts. We now have certainly a 10-year history in its current form. I've been doing this for a lot longer than that, but the Billy D's podcast in its current form is about 10 years old. So we have a long history on all the major platforms, not hard to find at all. In terms of social media, I do social media, but it is secondary to the podcast, of course. Probably the one that I give my most attention to is the former Twitter, which is now X. And one of the reasons why I do it is the trending, the real-time part of X just ties in really well with what we do with the podcast, because when something is hot, when there's a subject that's happening that's hot and it's trending and people are looking for information, it just makes a perfect tie-in to what we do here on the podcast. So it's something that we have and we've been associated with for a long time. And here again at Billy D's on X. Cynthia, first of all, best of luck with your the opening of your documentary this weekend. I wish you nothing but good things. And anything you need, you and I worked together for years. I'm just a phone call away. I just enjoy working with you and all the things you got going on. You're a very interesting person and intelligent, and it's always good to deal with you and talk to you and everything else. You're just a joy to work with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Billy. You as well.
I'm so, but goodbye.
No, you are.
I haven't pissed anybody off yet in a while, so yeah, I haven't had any liberal celebrities block me lately or come after me online. So I'm gonna have to stir the pot here. Yeah. One of my episodes here, I'm going to have to really stir the pot. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to the podcast today. My name is Billy D's. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you again very.
Thank you for listening to the Billy D's podcast. Follow Billy D's on X at Billy D's for updates about the program.
Do you listen to music or audiobooks on streaming devices such as Sonos or Amazon speakers? How about on your car sound system? If you use Spotify, Audible, or Amazon Music on any of these systems, you can also listen to the Billy D's podcast the same way. Billy and his team go the extra mile to make sure our podcasts sound as good or better than anything on the radio. Listening to the Billy D's podcast has never been easier. You literally just have to ask.